Brother Nubreed coming through with another live stream. Coming through to keep y'all updated and informed. Listen, man, these Epstein files ain't going nowhere. We have breaking news. I'm going to allow YouTube to send those notifications out. We definitely got to chop it up. As you enter the broadcast, make sure y'all double tap the screen and get the likes up. So we have the U.S. House Oversight Committee. They just issued subpoenas out on Bill and Hillary Clinton. Ooh, it's about to go down, man. The House of Cards is falling. The House of Cards is falling. And the reason this is happening because the victims are tired of being cogs in a political game. They're tired of being caught up in the middle of the Democrats blaming the Republicans and the Republicans blaming the Democrats. So they have put some pressure on the DOJ, and they had to go outside the DOJ because they think that the Department of Justice pretty much did the victims a major disservice. And what's the point of having a Department of Justice if justice not going to be brought forth for those victims? So the House Oversight Committee got a hold of all this, and they are issuing subpoenas. It's going down right now. They're already issuing subpoenas, and you're going to see, I believe, Hillary Clinton's court date is October 9th. Yep, October 9th, 2025. Bill and Hillary Clinton will face disposition. They will be brought to question in court with their connection to the victims, with their connection to the island, and Babylon is falling because the truth is about to come out. I know y'all remember some years ago, Hillary Clinton was hiding a whole lot of emails, thousands of emails that were later on labeled classified. And those emails are about to come out. There was a lot of personal emails that were deleted, tens and thousands of emails. And I personally believe that you got some pizza parties on there. Y'all know y'all know the infamous Pizzagate. When they were talking about hot dogs and pizza. That's on her emails. Believe it. That's what I believe. Those were on those emails, and there was some coordinated attempts to actually hide all of that. Right now, it's going down, man. The news is breaking. I got some sources to bring y'all, man. Y'all got it right. Hillary and Bill Clinton, they going to court. They have been subpoenaed. They have to face disposition. Let me see. Hillary Clinton is scheduled to give disposition testimony on October 14th, 2025, according to the Times. The subpoena also includes former DOJ officials, FBI directors, as well as Ghislaine Maxwell, which, Trump haven't pardoned her yet, but Ghislaine Maxwell will be there too. The Department of Justice must turn over everything by August 19th, 2025. Yes, the Department of Justice must turn over everything. No, this is a big deal, y'all. This is a big deal. So what this means is there has to be some transparency. And keep in mind, when Hillary Clinton's emails were hidden, what did they blame it on, y'all? They blamed it on negligence of the FBI at the time. So they're going to be under question too. Listen, there's nothing done in the dark that won't be revealed to the light. The question is Trump next? Is Trump next? Now, I want to go to the news source right here, showing y'all that the subpoenas have been issued. Let's go. They got court dates and all, y'all. Let's go. Hold on. My bad. I don't have no sound going through. Let's get that situated. Yeah, the Clintons have been subpoenaed, y'all. It's going down. All of these damn PDF files are about to be put on blast.
On the back and forth over the files related to Jeffrey Epstein, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer has issued a slew of deposition subpoenas from multiple people, including the Department of Justice, former President Bill Clinton, and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
So they're not able to hide nothing. The whole Department of Justice is being brought to question. They have a court date, y'all. So, you know, America is imploding right now. It's really going down. This Epstein file is about to cause a real hornet's nest. Let's go.
CBS News Justice reporter Jake Rosen is following this for us from...
I should say it's going to stir up the hornet's nest, but let's go.
Washington. Jake, the big question now is what comes next here?
Well, that's right. That is the big question. And it comes as the House is adjourned right now down the street from us here in D.C., Mugo, because there would have been a floor-wide vote to potentially force the unsealing and public release of the Department of Justice's Epstein files. Speaker Mike Johnson did not want that, so they took a break for this part of the summer. The pressure has not stopped, and this is actually a semi-bipartisan resolution and statement from Chairman Comer, who has promised to get more information out of the Department of Justice and people who were involved in these Jeffrey Epstein investigations throughout administrations. There are former Trump officials here. Think about Bill Barr, Jeff Sessions. There are people from the Obama era, Robert Mueller, Merrick Garland, who obviously was the Attorney General under President Biden, Eric Holder.
Do y'all hear all these prominent names? And this is why I said at the very beginning that I'm looking at the whole system, not just Democrats or Republicans, but both. These are some very prominent names, y'all. And they have a court date. And listen, it ain't no telling what that witch was doing. And I'm talking about Hillary Clinton. Ain't no telling what she was doing. Ain't no telling what the Biden family was doing. Listen, the whole system is perverted. The whole system is sick, and it has to fall. It has to fall. The Most High has to expose this so people can have a choice and decide to detach from this corrupted Babylonian satanic empire.
Names who really are from a different generation of politics, maybe than what we're living in now, but all whose Department of Justice or law enforcement organizations oversaw multiple investigations into Jeffrey Epstein. They want to sit down with these people, ask questions, and potentially get new answers out of them if there are any to be found. But the most interesting thing is the bipartisan resolution here, Mugo, to force the Department of Justice to release files from the multiple investigations, and in addition to that, a resolution to make sure that victims are protected, and also to force the release of...
And they need to make sure victims are protected, because there was a victim who just allegedly self-deleted last month. You know, the victim that was missing from Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. You know, the victim who worked in a spa while she was only 15, the same victim that Trump said Epstein stole. He said Epstein stole her from his resort. I believe her name is Virginia. Yeah, we talking about that victim. Yeah, the stolen girl who out of nowhere self-deleted. See, there's a whole lot of cover-ups taking place right now.
Any communications between the Biden Department of Justice and the FBI and White House about the Epstein files during President Biden's administration, obviously between 2020 and 2024.
Yeah, and Jake, we mentioned some very big names there. So how likely is it that they'll actually sit through a deposition?
Well, it depends on how much they want to fight this. There have been 3 instances in which a president has been compelled by Congress to subpoena. It's been Donald Trump, Harry Truman, and now potentially Bill Clinton. No president has actually sat down for any of these depositions so far, so likely President Clinton is not going to be forced to testify here. But it's very possible that other law enforcement officials are going to have to fight this and at least state why, or potentially come in and plead the Fifth Amendment, like we're seeing right now in Congress in different congressional investigations into President Biden and his administration. But the big question really here is there even anything new that could be uncovered on this front, Amugo, as the political football is still being passed between the White House, Department of Justice, and the courts?
So what that means is we have to spread awareness. You know, these people are going to just try to write this off and plead the Fifth, and which is pretty much an omission of guilt. You know what I'm saying? If the Clintons get up there and plead the Fifth, then they got something to hide, and there's going to be continued investigations from other agencies. Unless you're telling us that not only is the Department of Justice corrupted and can't be trusted, but every facet or every letter, let's put it this way, every letter organization that we have can't be trusted. FBI, CIA, Department of Justice, even Oversight Committee. Is Babylon, are they all covering each other up? Now, they may not necessarily have to sit at the deposition, but that doesn't mean that the case doesn't escalate. All right, for the record. But listen, other people are going to have to get involved. And my advice is the victims, they need to be vocal. The victims definitely need to be vocal, and they need to protest.
York of whether these grand jury testimonies have anything new, whether there's anything else there, or whether potentially any details of the conversation between Ghislaine Maxwell and the Department of Justice from last month could be released as well. We are still waiting word on that. But certainly it's been an all-court press, and the pressure is not going to stop, even though the House of Representatives is not in right now. The Oversight Committee making it clear they intend to get some answers.
Yeah, we keep saying this is a case that's not going away anytime soon, and every day it seems like there's something new.
And it's not. It ain't going nowhere no time soon. These people are going to have to pay for their wickedness. And Hillary and Bill Clinton, they've been doing a lot of dirt over the years. And they are all on the flight logs. I mean, the evidence is already out there. Hillary and Bill are all on the flight logs. It's out there. The information is out there. I mean, it's a simple Google search to see this stuff at this point. Now, I want to share another news source with y'all, because issuing these subpoenas to the Clintons is a big deal.
Top of the hour. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Ana Cabrera reporting from New York, and we're following breaking news out of Washington on the Jeffrey Epstein case. The House Oversight Committee has just issued subpoenas.
And the lady's name that was missing, Virginia Giuffre is her name, or Giuffre, Virginia Giuffre. And we got to talk more about her, because she was blood sacrificed. Because her testimony, is very damning to Ghislaine Maxwell, as well as the Trumps. And so she had to go. She was a sacrifice in this situation. Let's go.
Subpoenas for about a dozen of the very highest level former government officials, including former attorneys general from the past 4 administrations, up to former President Clinton. Republican James Comer, chair of that committee, also filed a subpoena to the Justice Department for records related to...
Wow, somebody said Maxwell invited to Chelsea Clinton's wedding. Very interesting. See, they all are tied in with each other. They was going over there dealing with the jits. And, the darkness is going to come to the light. They were messing around with the young ones, violating them, and there's thousands of victims.
Epstein. And this move comes after the House left early, you'll recall, for summer recess, specifically to avoid a vote that would have demanded the release of the Epstein files. And joining us now, NBC News Chief Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles, and here in New York, former federal prosecutor Barrett Berger. Ryan, tell us more about these subpoenas and how Oversight settled on this list.
Well, this is not a surprise, Anna. Right before the August recess, and you're right, it was during the midst of a pretty contentious back and forth between the base of the Republican Party and the Republican leadership about the broader release of the Epstein files. The House Oversight Committees, one of their subcommittees, during a conversation about a completely different topic, brought up this issue of the Epstein.
Yo, look at some major names up there, man. To be connected to the Epstein Island. And they even going after the DOJ and the federal investigators who were in charge of doing their research. I'm telling you, man, this can really create a real firestorm in the near future. But look, I want to see Babylon fall. Expose them all. Let these people be brought to the light. Yeah, Eric Holder's on the list. Former U.S. Attorney General is on the list. I mean, look, the truth is coming out. See, this evil that's going on ain't just a skin color now. We don't know. Look, these people are being under investigation. And these two right here, we know these two people are dirty. We know these people are dirty. Somebody said Elon did his job. I told you Elon was going to form Magatron and give these people a real problem. Elon could be behind some of this stuff coming out because, you know, he was the first one with a lot of influence that said Trump is on that list. Ever since then, it's been on. It's been on.
Epstein files, and Democrats attempted to force Republicans to vote on the release of those files. Republicans wanted to vote yes, but they also wanted other concessions from Democrats, and that was to bring in this long list of some of the most high-ranking officials who were in positions of power, who had the ability to investigate the Epstein saga over the course of the period of time in which Epstein was accused of making these crimes.
Well, they covered it up because, you know, a lot of them are connected to that island. And, you know, and listen, I'm going to tell y'all this as well. There's a political mind game being played, too, on the public. There's the art of deflection that's taking place. You know, you blame the Democrats. Meanwhile, the Republicans are guilty, too. You know, that's the play. They play us against each other. Have us going for right or left wing when all of these people are on the files. We know Trump is connected for sure. I mean, we know that there are other prominent right-wing conservatives that are a part of the list. We know that. They're just using this art of deflection. It's occult witchcraft, black magic. That's what it really is. But those who have eyes, let them see.
See on this list, we're talking about attorneys general from that date all the way back to the Bush administration and Alberto Gonzales, also William Barr, Jeff Sessions, and others who were in positions of power during this period of time throughout the Epstein saga. Now, these are subpoenas, so that means they are compelled to testify under law. The question is, how does this process play itself out? They are expected to be closed-door depositions to start. There is also the possibility that the representatives from these different former officials will attempt to negotiate some sort of.
How do we know Trump is connected? Asked by Mr. Jerry 101. Hey, that's a great question. But we know Trump is connected because he's already been listed to being on the files. He's already been listed to being on there. He's literally, you can look it up. He's on the flight logs. Not to mention, you know, his outright dismissal of anybody even speaking about Epstein. And that should be a clear sign that he's guilty. You know, you look at the person who's saying, who's still talking about the Epstein files? Let's stop talking about it. that should be the main person you looking at. Yeah, when you got a guy who was best friends with this guy for 10 years, and this same guy says, "Hey, Epstein stole," he used those words, stole Virginia Giuffre at 15 years old from my spa. Stole her. You know, that seems kind of strange, wouldn't you say? That sounds like language of someone who thinks he owned that young girl. Yeah, you know, they were friends. They were thick as thieves, ace boon coons. Not to mention Trump's, you know, open admission to his desire for young women. We don't know how young, but I mean, it should be obvious. Yeah, exactly. Deja in the chat, she said it. It's highly problematic that a president would be associated with a trafficker. But it seems like a lot of dirty MAGA don't seem to quite comprehend that. It's like, I mean, the connection should be obvious at this point. Anyway, let's continue.
An agreement with the committee about the form of their testimony and the way that it will be used, that remains a possibility. They could.
And it's also another thing we can add to that is Trump's willingness to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. Him even being open-minded to that. You know, in his words, yeah, I could pardon her. I'm the president. And the fact that, you know, that is a very likely thing to happen. Now, why would he pardon her? Unless, you know, they were in some kind of cahoots together. What other reason would Trump have to pardon her? And Virginia Giuffre, her testimony is what put Ghislaine Maxwell away. And she suspiciously dies a month ago. Y'all can't tell me that ain't janky. You can't tell me that that's not corruption at its highest level. Let's go.
Also fight the subpoena in court if it came to that. But this is the beginning of a process in which the Oversight Committee seems very persistent in their pursuit of this information related to Jeffrey Epstein. Anna?
Well, I hope the Oversight Committee continues to pursue this, because where there's smoke, there's fire. And it's clear that the Department of Justice is paid off. Ain't no justice. Let's see, D Wizzle, he says lots of conjecture, not evidence. No, what you hear lots of is astute observations. What you confuse as astute observations, you're calling conjecture. No, I'm just observing the facts. And see, in this here society, we are not taught to have deductive reasoning skills. We don't have common sense these days. And the truth is so simple, right? But you know what this demonic system wants you to do. It wants you to, you know, deflect or deviate from the simplicity of Christ. We know that it's not of God for our president to be wanting to hide the Epstein files when he was elected on a pretense that he would drain the swamp. He was elected with us believing that he would expose all. And then when he finally won the election, based on the support of some prominent podcasters, he threw all them under the bus. He threw his core base under the bus. And he said, y'all still talking about that. Stop. And he literally got on X and said, stop talking about it, in exclamation points. Why? Seemed like he has something to hide, right? Anyway, let's go.
Barrett, how long could it take the DOJ to respond to this subpoena? Do they have to comply?
They do have to comply. It's compulsory.
So the Department of Justice has to comply. Perfect.
Sorry, but my guess is they will have a response, because right now we really
And double tap the screen to get the likes up, ladies and gentlemen, if you are learning what's going on right now. Let's go.
have a race to disclosure here. We have this happening on the political front with the House subpoena. We also have this happening on the judicial front. We have the DOJ, who has been moving.
Let's see. D Wizzle says, I don't disagree, just want to see some admissible evidence. I will provide that for you. I will provide for you evidence using astute observations. And, you know, listen, we, the American citizens, we have to do some of the work. And what I mean by that is you have to use your mind in these situations. It's not going to be outright on paper saying, hey, these people are PDF files. You're not going to find evidence that just says, you're not going to find a videotape unless they release it of the atrocities that were being committed on these young ones. Only thing that we know is that it happened, and there's many victims. And we do know that we live in a world where the rich elite, these billionaires, seem to be hiding truth. They seem to be hiding truth. This is what we do know. And they seem to be coming together in a confederate with each other. And they look out for each other. But anyway, let's go.
Through the court process to get certain grand jury information unsealed. We have them reviewing the files, seeing what needs to be redacted. So it seems like the one thing that we can be certain of is that there is going to be much more information coming out. We just don't know how quickly.
Right. Somebody said it in the chat. These aren't young women. These are children. Exactly. Exactly.
That's going to happen.
Well, and it seems like the House, at least, is trying to get public testimony from some of these former officials, in addition to the documents it's asking for from the DOJ. I guess when it comes down to it, do you think we'll actually hear from any of these officials, given their reluctance to play ball in the past, especially among the Trump administration in the last term?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting group. They've certainly cast a very wide net, and you have people from all political parties being subpoenaed to come. Will the public ever hear this information? That's unclear. As of right now, these are supposed to be closed door depositions. So whether that information becomes public officially, I don't know. Generally speaking, we have seen a lot of leaks in the past. We could imagine that, you know, because this is happening.
See, the deposition is designed to see whether or not they're going to proceed. All right. So the question would be, do they have reasoning to continue the Oversight Committee? And I believe they will. I mean, once you have all those people together, the DOJ, the federal investigators, the Clintons, I mean, they should easily be able to poke holes in these individuals. They should be. Now, if they don't, man, listen, the whole White House is corrupted, bro. I don't want to hear none of that. It's a whole show. If nothing comes out of that, then we know that they're putting on, they're pretty much putting on a stage play for us, the American people. And then it becomes another conversation. The conversation would then become, let's expose how the media is playing us all. That's what it becomes then. If we don't see anything come out of this investigation, then it's all done, and Babylon gonna have to pay for their deeds in a whole nother way. Right?
In a political sphere as opposed to in a court of law, information may trickle down. I don't know. I would imagine that most of these officials right now will certainly be working with their counsel to try to narrow down the scope of whatever information they would be providing, perhaps.
Yeah, because they're gonna get lawyered up, and they're afraid. You know, the Clinton administration, they're afraid. Well, I call them an administration, but the Clinton family, the Biden family, all of them, they know. All the federal investigators, the DOJ, they know it's been corruption. They know. Yep, somebody says, I didn't support them. I want them to open this up so Trump's shining name can be everywhere. Oh yeah, his name definitely is going to be aired out. And Trump, he's been pretty nervous lately. During the interview, when he blurted out that Virginia Gulfrey was stolen from his Mar-a-Lago spa, the question would be, how long did he know she was stolen? How long? Because now Virginia's family, they're pushing. Yeah, he stuttered and everything. He stuttered. He looked afraid. You could see the fear on him. And it's a shame. It's a crying shame.
To try to provide some sort of written affirmation or declaration instead of actually showing up for testimony. But it will be interesting to see what comes out.
And just following up really quick on something you said about stuff getting made public. So even if the DOJ does comply, hands over some kind of Epstein files to the House, to this committee specifically, would they be made public?
Not necessarily. I mean, again, let's start from the base that these DOJ files contain, there's not sort of one type of document in there, right? So certain documents, it may be very easy to make them public. Certain documents may have all sorts of identifying information about victims, may have certain information that can't be released to the public for security reasons. So I don't know that we should expect that just because information is being made available to the House, that it will be made available to the public.
All right, Barrett Berger, thank you. Ryan Nobles, thanks for that.
Now, to be clear, the victim said that they want the information public. And I got to go to that because the victim said, look, they're tired of being cogs in a political game. And I got to show y'all that. The victim said, look, we want this information public. Stop playing games. Because this is what they do. They'll use the victims to say, oh, we're doing this to protect the victims. Listen, the victims want these monsters, these predators exposed. Matter of fact, the victims are the only reason why the DOJ is being put under pressure. If it wasn't for the victims, listen, they would have been swept this thing under the rug. I'm telling y'all now.
That reporting.
Hold on. Let me get that for y'all. Hold on. I'm gonna get that for you. Yep, the victims want it public. It says anonymous Epstein of victims. They're the ones who accusing the DOJ and protecting wealthy men. Look, peep this. If it wasn't for the victims, we wouldn't be hearing nothing right now.
Quote unquote wealthy men. And
listen to what the victims had to say. Epstein victims accuse Trump's DOJ of protecting wealthy men. So they want these wealthy men and women out in the public.
protecting quote unquote wealthy men, and another one demanding all of the Epstein files be released. Paula Reed is out front.
They want them all released. Stop using the victims to hide the evil and corruption in America. And for the person that says LOL because CNN is so relatable. No, listen. We're not going to play those games. We're not going to play that game. Because guess what? There's Democrats on that list too.
Paul, what more are these victims saying tonight? They're now choosing to speak out.
Yeah, Aaron, remarkable.
The victims are choosing to do what? Speak out.
Statements tonight from two of Epstein's victims. They are weighing in on the Justice Department's request to release grand jury transcripts. Now, notably, neither of these victims opposes releasing this material, but what they're asking for.
So none of the victims oppose to releasing the material. So the news would be lying when they say that they're doing it to protect the victims. The victims want total transparency. Total transparency.
Is to make sure that victims are protected. They write, quote, why not be completely transparent? Show us all the files with only the necessary redactions. Be done with it and allow us/me to heal. Now, they're also criticizing the government for what they say is a lack of respect shown.
They're doing what? Criticizing the government. Why not be completely transparent? Show all the files with only the necessary redactions. Be done with it and allow us to heal. But see, in this perverse generation, nobody seems to care about the victims. And it's been this type of corruption that have insulated these billionaires to continue their reign of terror, because people don't want to be transparent, because people want to protect evil. Let's see. Ernest Lewis says the DOJ has an incredible amount of info. Nothing stopping them from releasing it. That is expect those on the list. Exactly. There's so many powerful names, and y'all think it's just the Clintons? No. There's so many powerful names on that list that it would cause an uprising of some sort. It'd be so much public outrage. And that's what they do in these situations. They shame the victims. They act like they're protecting them, only to hide what's happened to them. It's the same playbook. Same playbook.
To victims, writing, quote, I feel like the DOJ's and FBI's priority is protecting the third party, the wealthy men, by focusing on scrubbing their names off of files.
Wow. Is anybody hearing what the victims are saying?
Focusing on scrubbing their names off of files of which the victims know who they are.
Wow, that's monumental. It says, I feel like the DOJ and FBI's priorities is protecting the third party, the wealthy men. Why? Because, listen, and this is all alleged. It's all alleged. I know they like to throw around conspiracy theorists, but really we just the truth intelligence community. Now, I personally believe, and it's not even, listen, I believe, not even personal belief, this can be substantiated with facts. The FBI worked with whoever got the money. I mean, you can even go back to Rick Ross, the drug dealer, and how the FBI was providing him with the necessary tools, financial backing. I believe that the FBI is just straight up corrupted, bro. That's just my opinion. Those are my thoughts. They work with the wealthy, and they are part of the elite. I think the feds was partying with Diddy and Epstein. And that's why it's good that they're being brought to trial. Right? Now, look, you can feel how you want to feel. People can think what they want to think. I believe the CIA is corrupt. I think they're all just corrupted. And history has shown this time and time again. History has shown this. First of all, we don't own boats and planes, but you got crack cocaine, heroin, and all these drugs in our communities. We didn't do that. We don't own boats and planes. They want us to believe that Frank Lucas was going to the Congos and getting heroin. How? And he was smuggling pounds and pounds, thousands of pounds of heroin and crack cocaine on airplanes, military planes. You telling me that Frank Lucas had the ability to do that? Hell no. Yeah, Ronald Johnson said it's just one big circle jerk for real. They all in on it. They all in bed. You just can't tell me that makes any sense. A black man in the 70s? You telling me a black man in the 70s was bringing all this dope over here through military planes, and the feds and CIA and FBI and all that, they ain't had nothing to do with that. Nah, I'm sorry. I don't trust them. This country has a history of corruption. And I'm just telling it like it is. Anyway, let's go.
They directly called out President Trump here, alleging that he was using thousands of agents to protect his identity and those of other wealthy, high-profile individuals.
They claim that Trump is using thousands of agents to protect his identity. Y'all hear that? This is what the victims are claiming, according to CNN.
Alleging that he was using thousands of agents to protect his identity and those of other wealthy, high-profile individuals. They also took aim at the current Justice Department, saying that it appears that it is more interested in talking with Ghislaine Maxwell, a, quote, convicted imprisoned sex trafficker, than in speaking with victims.
Exactly. Why aren't the victims getting the front page, but we worried about Ghislaine Maxwell? They're so busy trying to convince the public that she deserves to get a lighter sentence after trafficking little girls and little boys. She's becoming a damn star right now. Meanwhile, we're not hearing anything from the victims, but they're doing all they can do for us to gain some type of sympathy for Ghislaine Maxwell. What in the hell is going on in our country? It just don't add up. Yeah, they interviewing her, but not the victims. Why? Because the victims are going to put those names on blast. Yeah, it's crazy.
Now here, the judge is weighing whether to release these transcripts. Even the Justice Department has acknowledged there wasn't a lot of evidence presented to this grand jury. It heard from 2 witnesses. So even if the judge decides to make the unusual decision to release this material, which is by default confidential, it is unlikely to quell the calls for more transparency, because most of the information is with the Attorney General, is with the Justice Department. But victims and even Ghislaine Maxwell and anyone else involved in this has until tomorrow to weigh in with the judge.
Wow, they got up till tomorrow to weigh in with the judge. And so, you know, including Ghislaine Maxwell. So hopefully the victims are on a A game and they there to point out these monsters and predators with no fear, you know. And I know that there's a fear mechanism in play, because they seen what happened with Virginia Giuffre. So, you know, these victims they have to walk in boldness. They have to walk in the light of Christ, man, because they going against a dangerous machine. But, you know, we pray they get retribution.
All right, Paula, thank you very much. And of course, when Paula talks about the grand jury testimony, just to remind everybody, you know, it was really based on the testimony of 2 officials. So it's a drop in the bucket of the Epstein files. So to be very clear, while it's good to have that, it is a drop in the bucket of what actually is out there and what needs to be known. And it all comes nearly 2 weeks after 3 Republicans joined Democrats on the House Oversight Committee to subpoena the DOJ to release all the Epstein files. But here's the thing, you might say, okay, well.
So the Oversight Committee has Democrats and Republicans involved. So all of you Trump supporters, MAGA and Dirty MAGA, please take your biases out of this. You know, they have Democrats and Republicans coming together saying, hey, there's more that we need to investigate. And the victims are pointing at Trump's DOJ, Trump's Department of Justice under his administration. And of course, some of those Republicans that are on the committee, they're going back and checking some of the Democrats. So everybody, that's why I ask, is Trump next? That's why I say, look, is Trump next? Let's go.
That was 3 weeks ago, so where are the files? It's a good question. The Republican chairman of the committee still has not issued that subpoena, even though he'd agreed to do so. So back with me now is Democratic Congressman Robert Garcia of California, top Democrat on the Oversight Committee. And Congressman, obviously you and I spoke, 10 days ago, 11.
Here go this is a good person to interview, because then we could see who they're going to be aiming at right now in the Republican side. This is the top Democrat, a part of that Oversight Committee. Let's go.
Days ago, James Comer, Republican chairman of your committee, had said he was going to move quickly on that subpoena. And I know you had a good faith conversation, right? He'd agreed to do it. And you said, but you're going to hold him to it. So do you know what's going on here?
We're in very close contact. We just spoke actually last Friday, and we think that we are likely a day or two away, a couple days here from the subpoena release. We've seen and gone back and forth on some of the language. We've had discussions about getting this out as fast as possible. Now, look, we think it should have already been out and issued. We put that pressure on. We also know that James Comer has been very clear that it's going to be sent out. They're essentially almost there. And so we are taking him by his word, but the clock is ticking. So we hopefully are days away from this release. And he's very aware that this needs to happen immediately.
All right. So when you talk about the wording and the wordsmithing going on, is the final wording such that you understand it, that it's going to be in the subpoena, but that you say that Chairman Comer has told you within, I guess, the last business day, Friday, right, is going to go out in the next couple of days. Is it for everything?
It's the full files, documents, videos. But
So there, they talking about the full files. This is for everything. The subpoena is for everything.
Pieces are really important. I mean, I think some of this speaks to what you just reported on. It's very important, and why this is also a little complicated is we want to ensure that what we get is also centers the victims. What we don't want to have is to re-victimize or re-traumatize the victims. And so ensuring that is redacted, that information is done very carefully, but that the subpoena is clear to the motion that Democrats made is going to be very, very important. And so that's what
the victim saying, look, whatever needs to be redacted, y'all redacted, but we want everything out. We want full transparency.
We have been pushing with Chairman Comer and, of course, the House Republicans. Their protection and centering justice for the victims is really important in this part of the process.
So how do you deal with the victimizers? Right. I mean, I understand there could be an argument made, well, if there isn't enough to actually charge man A, man B, really wealthy people in Palm Beach, whoever these people may be, then do you redact the names or not? But obviously what people want to know here is not to re-victimize. They want to hold to account the people who engaged in assault who weren't named Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell. Is that going to happen?
Yes, that's exactly right. And that is our goal as well. Look, at the end of the day, it's clear that Donald Trump is covering something up. It's clear that Donald Trump is involved in some sort of cover up at the White House or the DOJ. I mean,
it should be evident at this point. This man been screaming from the mountaintop to just stop talking about the Epstein trial. He been just, he been deflecting left and right. I mean, it should be apparent that Donald Trump got some kind of corruption going on in the White House right now. I mean, but guess what? So did Biden. So did all the other previous presidents. The whole system's corrupted.
Know that Donald Trump is in the files. The DOJ has told him that. We also know that there are other powerful people, and we should not care who they are, what power they hold, how much wealth they have, what political party they're in. But those victims deserve justice. The full files should be released to the public. And of course, we should protect the victims along the way. But at this point, this is something the president campaigned on. Yeah. We now have a bipartisan vote of the Oversight.
Yeah, they listen. Trump might have wanted this all to go away. Trump was taking the Truth Social, but guess what? We're not ran by a dictator yet. This is not a totalitarian government. We still have laws in place, and this is still a bipartisan government. And guess what? This is a time where the left was needed. Whether you left or right, guess what? In this instance, the left pushing to get, even if it's just a personal vendetta on Trump, there's victims involved in this situation. And there was also people on the right. That's why it's bipartisan. So nonetheless, you got people on both sides that want to see the Epstein files released. And no matter how much Trump was sitting there talking about let it go away, why are we still talking about it? These Epstein files are not going nowhere anytime soon. This is going to be mainstream news for the next 2 years. Until something gives. They can't just sweep it under the rug anymore.
Oversight Committee to get the files released. And so it's important that James Comer signs that subpoena immediately and we get the files in front of the Congress.
All right. So then last week, Ghislaine Maxwell, well, the week before that, she meets with the number 2 at the DOJ, Todd Blanche. She meets with him a couple of times, right? 2 days, 2 long meetings. They say, the DOJ says she mentions 100 people in the files. But yet suddenly then she gets moved to a new prison in Texas, much less security, not something where you would put a convicted child sex offender serving.
Right. That's because, they're trying to protect their own. They're trying to protect their own. And now that all of these subpoenas are coming and the possibility of this thing going to the grand jury, the president want to try to, make Ghislaine Maxwell stay a little more comfortable. He want to make sure that she knows it's a possibility that she can be pardoned. Why? Because her testimony means a lot. They're going to paint her out just to be some scapegoat. Yeah, so now they moved her to a real cushy setup. I mean, this system is sick. It's not about justice. It's not about justice. It's about, look, you watch my back, I watch yours. You look out for me, I look out for you. Let's stay out of trouble, in order to stay out of trouble, any means necessary. That's what's going on right now.
20 years in prison. Never. No precedent for any such thing. And no precedent for anybody being moved so quickly in the system and so efficiently.
Right. Why would this woman be even thought of being pardoned when she was convincing little girls to go roll with her? And these little girls was waking up in the back of a jet. Or these little girls was waking up tied up with blindfolds and mouth gags. And these little boys and little girls was being, packed up and shipped off to a island. Why would this woman who was convincing these children that they were going to be okay? She was convincing these children that they were safe with her, only to get them packed up and sent to an island where only God knows what happened to them. And we know what happened to them. I just can't say it. Why all of a sudden she deserves to be in some cushy jail? Why all of a sudden she deserves to be pardoned by the U.S. president? These are the questions you got to ask.
So what do you think happened here? I mean, it smells bad. Is it really bad?
We're very concerned about this. I mean, to be clear, there's no reason why Ms. Maxwell was moved. And this is happening right after that DOJ meeting, of course, with essentially Donald Trump's personal former lawyer, Mr. Blanche, and that meeting that happened over the course of those 2 days. And so what does, of course, Ms. Maxwell want? She wants a pardon. She wants a reduced sentence. And then she gets moved to essentially a less secure prison, a place that is actually she can walk around.
That don't even look like a prison. That look like a nursing home. Y'all see this? She can go outside and do her garden, her little lawn work. That looks like a vacation spot. Look, it don't even look like it's barbed wire on that fence. It looked like she's probably in there having 6-course meals. Doing just fine. After participating in one of the most heinous crimes in American history. One of the most infamous, heinous crimes in U.S. history. And this is how she getting treated by the president. Yep, that's right. She's looking out for his best friend's girl. That's what he's doing. Because he knew what they were into. I mean, he said to himself, Virginia was stolen by them. Stolen. Not she was kidnapped. He said, oh, they stole her from my Mar-a-Lago. They stole her from my Mar-a-Lago spa. It should be evident at this point that they were rolling together.
Brown more have more freedom of her movements. That is not acceptable. That is
Okay, it does have barbed wire, so I guess you can say it's a prison.
she's not eligible for that type of move. We have been engaging with the Bureau of Federal Prisons and asking them some tough questions. Did the DOJ?
That's not even a prison. It's a federal camp. What is this junk called? Look, federal prison camp, and we already know the feds are in the investigation.
That is not acceptable. That is, she's not eligible for that type of move. We have been engaging with the.
Look at that, federal prison camp. So she's in Fed camp, and you know what's going on in there? She's being briefed. This place is for federal informants, man. I don't see the writings on the wall. This place is for federal informants. She's being briefed on what she's going to say in case of a grand jury. I mean, look, this should be evident what's going on right now.
The Bureau of Federal Prisons and asking them some tough questions. Did the DOJ request this? It's something that the president himself ordered to get done for Ms. Maxwell. She's a convicted sex trafficker. We know this already. She has caused major harm to victims, to young women, to girls. And so why she's getting moved is a concerning pattern of some on the right in trying to somehow lionize Ms. Maxwell, give her some cover, or somehow lay the groundwork for some type of reduced sentence. And for what? For what end? So that she maybe essentially takes her focus off Donald Trump or implicates others, but not Donald Trump or Donald Trump's so-called associates or friends. These are all questions that need to be.
Yeah, Trump has a lot of billionaire buddies, and look, they just trying to get her in the fold to make sure none of those names are implicated. That's all. And including his own. They don't want to be implicated anymore. They want the case they just want it all to disappear. And she's the only one in prison behind it, so they look at it like, look, in case this grand jury come, let's get her out the way. Let's just make sure that she know that we got her covered. So it's no need to, let's basically train her to what needs to be said and what needs to be done. They got all bases loaded. They got everything covered.
Investigated, which is why we need to actually get the files and make them available to.
That's right. That's why they need the files. That's why they need the files.
Public. We just cannot take Ms. Maxwell's word for it, and for whatever she's going to testify or be deposed on, we've got to see the files ourselves.
She has, of course, been convicted of perjuring herself under oath before.
And she's already been convicted of perjury, so we know damn well her words don't mean a damn thing. Already convicted for perjury. I mean, man, America is ghetto, bro. This country is ghetto. You got people talking about they got black fatigue, but just looking at the corruption, the evil that goes on in this country, bro. They cannot make our people the face of degeneracy. There's no way. They cannot make us the face of degeneracy when they got this kind of evil going on. I'm telling you. Yep, somebody said they have rich fatigue. Yeah, we got orange fatigue, man, because at the end of the day, the entire system is a cesspool. And it needs to be exposed for what it is. Yeah, it's straight ratchet out there, man. I mean, but in hindsight, Biden did the same thing. When Biden got his son out of there, the things that was in that computer was damning evidence. When Biden pardoned his son Hunter, it's the same thing. It's not based on justice. It's not based on justice. It's based on just looking out for each other. And we learned that with Diddy, because apparently Trump was going to pardon Diddy until he found out Diddy was talking spicy about him. Some type of resurfaced footage came up, and he just said, oh, no, I'm not going to pardon him, which shows you it ain't about justice. It's not about that. It ain't about if somebody's guilty or innocent. It's about who you're friends with. A wise person once told me, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And that's just how America works. It ain't about who's most qualified to get that position, to get that job. It ain't even, listen, even on when it comes to influence, a lot of the times it ain't about who's the most skilled, who knows how to do what, and who's the most talented. Nah, man, it's more about who you connected with a lot of the times, man. But nonetheless, listen, we as real true conservatives, we pray and hope that the victims get justice, and we hope that Babylon continues to fall, right? Thank each and every one of y'all for joining. More material coming. With that being said, shalom, peace.